How sweet is this lace bonnet? I'm going to show you how to make this precious heirloom for the little one in your life. Or you can simply make it for the joy of doing it and have it as a decoration in your sewing room. I am not judging. Okay, so to start, cut out 2 of the bonnet circles and 2 of the bonnet bodies on the fold. Notice the circles, there are these little 4 marks, each 90 degrees offset from each other. It's helpful to mark these, say with a erasable pen or tiny clip marks. There's also the marks on the bonnet body, and ditto, it's helpful to mark these, and you will see why in a little bit. Then with right sides together, sew down the back side of the bonnet. That's this little vertical line underneath the curve, and you will do this for both the bonnet and its lining. From there, put 2 rows, at least 2 rows of gathering threads on the back side of the bonnet. And the back side is marked on the pattern piece, at least it is on my pattern, but if you're using someone else's pattern, it's the straight edge on the side without that curve. Just all joined together, no interruptions. So putting 2 rows of gather stitches, one on either side of where those permanent stitches will go later on. So then you can adjust the gathers and match those marks together. Remember those little marks on the circle and body of the bonnet. These little marks will help make sure that all the gathers are evenly distributed. So then you can pin the circle to the body of the bonnet, aligning a straight edge so it's vertical as the bonnet is being worn. And you can sew the circle with that body bonnet, with the bonnet body, my goodness. And then repeat the same thing for the lining of the bonnet. So then you can pull those gathering threads out, and I moved on to the lovely lace brim of this bonnet. So I used an erasable pen to mark the placement of the lace. And you have some options here. I'm using insertion lace for these little vertical bits, but edging lace would also be pretty, and gullion, am I saying that right? Gallion? That lace, the one with an edging on each side, that would be lovely too. But as far as sizing goes, anything from a 1/4 inch to 3/8 would be fine. And even if you just want to push it to 1/2 inch, I guess that could work, although it might look a little out of proportion on a tiny baby. But it is sewing, so you do you. I use a 1/4 inch wide insertion here, and same thing goes for the edging. Anything from about 1/4 inch to 3/8 would be fine, even stretching to a 1/2 inch if it just makes your heart pitter-patters. So just work that edging lace around the curves, aligning it up with the trace marks and pinning as you go. Then use the pull threads on the lace header to shape the lace as needed around those curves. And I have several videos that go into more detail on lace shaping, and I will try to remember to link one down below. From there, I switched the pins around and took my bonnet to my sewing machine to do some hem stitching. But you could totally just do a zigzag instead. If you're too overwhelmed by a hem stitcher, don't let this stop you from doing this project. Just do a zigzag and that'll be pretty too. But to do a hem stitch, I take some stitch and ditch stabilizer and hem stitch away using a size 90 needle. I love that size for a tiny baby, but size 100 would also be another great option. Size 100 is a bigger hole than a size 90. It will make a bigger hole than a size 90 needle. And I do this stitching in 3 areas, if you will. It kind of connects the edging lace to the insertion lace, kind of making it all one fluid section of stitching. And from there, I remove the stitch and ditch stabilizer and carefully remove the fabric underneath the lace. You do not have to remove this fabric though. It could be pretty with leaving the fabric there, but I think it makes it really pop if you remove the fabric. But it is sewing, so you do you. Again, don't let this stop you if you're overwhelmed. So from there, I gave that an ironing and I pinned it to the body of the bonnet. You'll pin it so the right side of the body is touching the wrong side of the lace bit. Or another way of saying that is all the right sides are facing up. And at this point, you can baste the 2 together if you'd like. And then you can pin the lining of the bonnet into the mix with right sides together. And you will sew from one point on the back. It doesn't matter really where you start, but you do want to leave a little hole, say 3 inches wide. And once you're done sewing all the way around, making sure to leave that little hole, then you can trim up the corners and use that little hole to turn everything right sides out. From there, I gave it an ironing, and the last thing to do is to attach the ties for the bonnet. There are many different options here, but one classic way is to attach a little button on top of a ribbon, giving it a little bit of a cleaner look. And to do this, I threaded a needle with 1 strand of floche, and I brought that between the bonnet and its lining, and a little ways away from where I want to go so the tail of the thread will be hidden. So from there, I tie on by creating a loop and going through the loop twice, pulling tight, and then I fold that ribbon over so it has kind of like two little pleats, if you will. It's just a classic way of doing this. And I attach that to the bonnet, going through those two little pleats and then coming back and kind of just tacking it down. And then I clean it up with a tiny mother of pearl button. See this lovely voile gown with shadowwork embroidery? Go check that sew along out and join in on the fun. If you have any questions, of course, put them down in the comments below, and I will do my best to answer them. And as always, I appreciate y'all for watching, and I hope to catch y'all next time.